serial killer. I don't know why he's still alive. What's so special about him? Why has he been on death row for 42 years?
Because I don't think I'm a serial killer. I mean, a serial killer goes around killing people for no reason. They don't have to have a reason. They just kill. We kill them. And that's not me. Even though the reasons that I have don't make it right, you know, I'm guilty of doing it.
Well, last night here on the News at 10, you heard from Idaho's oldest death row inmate, Thomas Creech, 3.5 months after an unsuccessful state-sponsored execution. It was the first time that's ever happened in Idaho. Creech has spent nearly half a century in Idaho's maximum security prison, and he's been scheduled for execution 12 times. He's convicted of killing 5 men. He has testified to killing 42 people in the past, but now says that's not true. So tonight he speaks with Morgan Romero about the murders he committed decades ago. And for the first time, we are hearing from the stepbrother of one of Creech's victims, who says the brutal murder is fresh. Now, we would like to warn you, the way Creech describes the murders are in graphic detail.
Thomas Creech grabbed a phone and sat down in front of a screen.
Here we go again.
Set up for virtual visits inside Idaho's death row.
I made some horrible, terrible decisions when I was younger.
Where he sat for more than 40 years. When he's inside his cell, he can see the execution chamber from his window, where he says he fully expected to die on February 28th.
I did things that I shouldn't have done that got me the death penalty.
Creech killed the first of his 5 victims in 1974. Authorities say Creech suffocated a man named Vivian Robinson, whose body was found badly decomposed in Robinson's Sacramento home in June 1974. Creech then shot and killed William Dean inside a church in Salem, Oregon 2 months later.
I went after the guys that had raped my wife, Tommy, who were stories out of a window. She knew 2 of the people were, because they were like a gang affiliation that roamed our neighborhood, and they had been in our house because I bought and sold drugs to them.
In November of that same year, Edward Thomas Arnold and John Bradley's bodies were found in a ditch near Donnelly, Idaho. Creech and his girlfriend at the time, Carol Spalding, were later arrested and charged with murdering the men.
They gave us a ride, and we were drinking, and Carol had to go to the bathroom, so we stopped for her to go to the bathroom. And one of the guys reached up from the back seat and put a knife to my throat, and he started talking about having sex with her and stuff. And I was carrying a gun, shot both of them.
Arnold's granddaughter tells me her grandpa was shot in the back of the head and the driver in the face. She says Creech and his girlfriend were in the back seat, and it's, quote, impossible that her grandpa and his friend held a knife to Creech's throat. 2 years after he was sentenced to death for those murders, the U.S. Supreme Court barred automatic death sentences, converting Creech's punishment to life in prison. While serving that sentence, in 1981, he attacked and killed fellow inmate David Jensen. Officer reports indicate the two got into a fight.
The gang that he was trying to join, instead of jumping him in like a regular gang, they wanted him to fight me, and that would give him immediate reputation.
So there was no gang activity. There was nothing like that. What he's feeding you is full of bull crap.
Jensen's stepbrother, Kirk Gittinger, says Creech attacked Jensen after he spilled milk in the prison's cafeteria.
And Creech was a janitor. And David was 10 foot tall and bulletproof in his mind. And he said, oh, poor boy has to clean up my mess. Poor little boy. And Creech beat him with a sock full of batteries for making fun of him in front of his buddies.
Creech claims Jensen swung a sock full of batteries at him, and he took it from him. Then, he says Jensen got a knife.
And I had the sock and batteries, took down my back pocket, ever took them from him. And I swung it one time and hit him in the head. And he went down, and then I kicked him.
There was no self-defense.
Gittinger says his brother had disabilities and the mentality and strength of a 12-year-old.
He was an easy target. Anybody could have killed him. And Creech knew that. He couldn't fight back.
Police reports show Creech had stab wounds. 2 inmates in neighboring cells told police that's not the full story. According to an interview a few days after the attack, one of those inmates said Creech told him before the only way to fight Jensen was to kill him. The inmate also said Jensen wasn't violent. In Creech's 1983 sentencing, an Ada County judge determined Creech, quote, did not instigate the fight with the victim, but the victim, without provocation, attacked him. He was initially justified in protecting himself. But the judge went on to say the murder took on many of the aspects of an assassination, and Creech's violence, quote, went beyond self-defense. The judge eventually sentenced Creech to death again.
I feel so much remorse. I feel bad for that. I feel bad for his family. I'm sorry. I hope that someday they can find her to forgive me.
I think if he had the chance and he was a little younger, he'd do it again. I think if he had the chance now, he'd do it again. He's a killer, and that's what they do.
Do you think that Thomas Creech of 1974 deserves to die?
I would say yes, because I was a different person back then. I was kind of cold-blooded. That was my lifestyle. I lived in that fast lane. But that's not the same person I am now.
As he pays for the crimes he committed when he was younger,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the things I've done. I'm sorry for every one of the people that I have hurt, for the pain that it's caused their families.
he's unsure what the state of Idaho has planned for him.
What do you think the just punishment is? Is it what you're receiving right now, or what would you, if you were in their position, what would you like to see happen to somebody like you?
I think that the worst punishment is making a person spend their life in prison, and they have to continue to think about it day in, day out.
Gettinger hopes Creech is able to be executed.
I'd like to see him stuck in front of a firing squad. That way, we don't have to find a vein.
Arnold's granddaughter told Morgan the remorse Creech is showing is self-pity because he sees himself as a victim. Creech's attorneys are actively trying to prevent another execution attempt in state and federal court. IDOC is ready if and when a death warrant is signed for Creech. As we reported, records show the department paid $100,000 for 15 grams of pentobarbital, recently double what they previously paid for the same amount of the drug. We've been getting a lot of questions about whether IDOC medical team members can insert a central line in Creech. 7 Investigates learned that is approved and briefly mentioned in IDOC's execution policies. And a spokesman said via email they're reviewing their policies and their procedures in consultation with their medical team, and that there is a legal process that needs to be played out.